Good evening, and welcome to Dreamy Academy. Tonight we begin a quiet journey into the very foundations of the built world, exploring the silent poetry of architecture. As we begin, I'd love to know where you're listening from, your city, your country, perhaps even what the night sky looks like outside your window. If you enjoy these peaceful explorations of science, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It truly helps this little corner of quiet curiosity grow. And for those already subscribed, thank you sincerely for being part of this slow and thoughtful adventure. You're the quiet pillars of this space, and your presence is deeply appreciated. Tonight, we turn our gaze to something so ubiquitous, so woven into the fabric of our daily lives that its profound wonder often slips past unnoticed. The simple act of building. Every wall around you, every roof overhead, every bridge spanning a chasm is a testament to an ancient conversation between human ingenuity and the unyielding forces of the earth. We often perceive buildings as static, solid, unchanging. Yet, beneath their apparent stillness, a constant silent ballet of forces is unfolding. Gravity, wind, earth tremors, the very breath of the atmosphere. To understand architecture is to understand this dance, to appreciate how matter can be arranged to defy collapse, to create shelter, to define space, and to stand, sometimes for millennia, as a quiet sentinel against the vastness of time. It is a dialogue with physics, a collaboration with geology, and a profound expression of our desire to shape the world around us. There is a deep, almost meditative beauty in observing how a structure, whether a humble stone wall or a soaring cathedral, finds its equilibrium, how it speaks a language of load and support, of compression and tension, in a whisper that only the patient ear can truly hear. This is not merely about bricks and mortar. It is about the elegant solutions to fundamental challenges, about the quiet wisdom embedded in every beam and column. It is a story of wonder, told through the very ground beneath our feet and the sky above our heads. Have you ever noticed the quiet conversation between a building and the earth beneath it? It's a dialogue that began with the very first stone placed upon another, a fundamental exchange of weight and resistance. Before we consider grand designs or intricate details, let us begin by contemplating the most elemental force that shapes our built environment: gravity. It is the invisible, ever-present sculptor, perpetually pulling everything downwards, seeking the lowest possible state of rest. And against this universal pull, every structure, from a child's block tower to a skyscraper, offers a quiet, continuous act of defiance. To build, in its most fundamental sense, is to manage gravity. Imagine a single stone. Left alone, it rests peacefully on the ground, its weight absorbed by the earth. But lift it, and you feel gravity's insistence. Place it atop another stone, and suddenly a new relationship is born. The upper stone exerts its weight, its load, upon the lower. The lower stone in turn offers support, pushing back with an equal and opposite force. This seemingly simple interaction, this delicate balance of load and support, is the bedrock of all architecture. It is the first sentence in the silent language that buildings speak. Scientists read this distant world through the patient language of rock, but we can read the immediate world through the patient language of structure. Each layer of sediment is a page in a slow-moving diary. Each course of brick or stone is a line in a quiet poem. This fundamental principle, that every force has an equal and opposite reaction, is not just a law of physics, but the very heartbeat of structural design. When we place a roof over our heads, its weight, along with the weight of snow, rain, or even the air itself, becomes a load. This load travels down through the roof structure, into the walls or columns, and eventually into the very ground beneath the building. Each component in this chain, from the smallest nail to the largest foundation, must be capable of transferring this load without yielding. The beauty of this method lies in its cross-checking. When a structure stands, it means that at every point the forces are in balance. When it fails, that balance has been broken. Consider the ordinary miracle of a tree. Its trunk, a column of wood, patiently resists the downward pull of its branches and leaves, transferring the weight into its root system, which then anchors it to the earth. This is a natural architect, refined over millions of years, demonstrating the same principles we consciously apply in our constructions. The trunk experiences compression, a squeezing force as the weight from above pushes down. The roots, in their intricate network, distribute this force, creating stability. This concept of compression is perhaps the most intuitive structural principle. It is the force that makes a column strong, that allows a brick to bear the weight of many bricks above it, and that enables the massive stones of an ancient pyramid to stand for millennia. But gravity is not the only force at play. The wind, a capricious and invisible hand, pushes horizontally against the exposed surfaces of a building, creating lateral loads. An earthquake, a deep tremor in the Earth's crust, can introduce violent multi-directional forces that seek to twist and shear a structure apart. Even the temperature changes from day to night cause materials to expand and contract, subtly stressing their connections. All of these forces, seen and unseen, engage in that continuous silent ballet with the building. The architect, then, is not merely a designer of forms, but a thoughtful choreographer of forces, ensuring that every element plays its part in maintaining equilibrium. Let's delve deeper into these fundamental forces. Imagine a simple block placed on a flat surface. Gravity pulls it directly downwards. The surface pushes directly upwards. This is pure compression. Now imagine trying to crush that block between your two hands. You're applying compressive forces. Materials like stone, concrete, and brick are exceptionally strong in compression. Their internal structure, often granular or crystalline, allows them to resist being squeezed together very effectively. This is why ancient builders, with little more than stone and profound understanding of gravity, could erect structures of immense scale and longevity. Think of the massive monolithic stones of Stonehenge, or the precisely cut blocks of the Egyptian pyramids. Their enduring presence is a testament to the power of compression. But what if we try to stretch that block? This introduces tension, a pulling force. Materials like rope, steel cables, or even the fibers within wood are strong in tension. They resist being pulled apart. If you hang a weight from a beam, the top of the beam will be in compression, but the bottom will be in tension as it tries to stretch. This is a crucial distinction, for a material strong in compression might be weak in tension. Stone, for instance, crumbles easily when pulled. This is why a simple lintel, a horizontal stone spanning an opening, can only be so long before it cracks under its own weight and the weight above it, as the bottom edge is pulled apart by tensile forces. The elegant solutions to this challenge, which we will explore later, led to arches and vaults, forms that ingeniously convert tensile stresses into compressive ones. Beyond compression and tension, there is shear. Shear is a force that acts parallel to a surface, pushing parts of a material in opposite directions. Imagine taking a deck of cards and pushing the top card one way and the bottom card the other way. The cards slide past each other. This is a shear force. In a building, shear forces occur when a wall is pushed sideways by wind or seismic activity, or when a beam tries to slide off its support. Materials like wood and steel have good shear strength, but concrete and masonry require careful reinforcement to resist these twisting and sliding forces. The careful placement of rebar in concrete, for example, is often to enhance its ability to resist both tension and shear. The reason this works, the reason complexity could emerge from simplicity, the reason structures can stand against the relentless pull of the earth, comes down to a deep principle about how energy flows through systems, seeking states of equilibrium while creating, almost as a side effect, the temporary islands of order we call buildings. Every building is a carefully constructed system of interconnected parts, each designed to channel and resist these forces, guiding them down into the unyielding embrace of the ground. The very ground, in turn, is a complex geological canvas. Not all Earth is created equal in its ability to accept these loads. Some soils are soft and compressible, others are dense and stable. The foundation of a building is the critical interface, the silent handshake between the structure and the earth. It must be designed to distribute the building's weight over a sufficient area, preventing the structure from sinking or tilting. There's a particular comfort in understanding that the great cathedrals of old, with their soaring vaults and massive walls, and the modern skyscrapers that pierce the clouds, are all speaking this same fundamental language. They are all expressions of compression, tension, and shear, patiently managed and elegantly balanced. Looking back across those millions of years of natural evolution that shaped the tree, and the thousands of years of human ingenuity that shaped the stone wall, we see not chaos, but structure, not randomness, but a profound order. The universe, it seems, has a tendency toward elegant solutions when forces interact. In the end, what this tells us is that architecture is not merely an art, but a profound science, a continuous, evolving understanding of how to make things stand beautifully and enduringly against the patient, persistent pull of the world. So we've seen how the very ground beneath our feet and the invisible forces that govern all matter dictate the most fundamental aspects of how we build. We've considered the quiet strength of compression, the resilient stretch of tension, and the steadfast resistance to shear, all working in concert to keep a structure in balance. But what happens when we move beyond simply standing? What allows us to enclose space, to create a sheltered interior, to shape the very air we breathe within a structure? How do the materials themselves, with their unique inherent strengths and weaknesses, become the vocabulary for this conversation? That question leads us into the world of materials, and how their properties dictate the forms and possibilities of architecture, shaping not just how we build, but what we can build and how it feels to dwell within. Welcome back, my friends, to our quiet journey through the Dreamy Academy. We left off, if you recall, at the precipice of a profound realization that architecture is not merely about making things stand, but about a continuous silent ballet between human ingenuity and the Earth's unyielding forces. We spoke of gravity's omnipresent pull, of compression, tension, and shear. The invisible hands that shape every wall, every roof, every soaring spire. Now, as we step further into this thoughtful adventure, we must ask ourselves, if these forces are the universal language, what are the words? What are the syllables and sentences that allow a structure to speak, to stand, to shelter? The answer, my dear quiet pillars, lies in the very fabric of our built world, the materials. Each material, you see, possesses its own unique voice, its own inherent strengths and weaknesses, its own silent poetry. It is through understanding and honouring these properties that we, as architects and appreciative observers, learn to compose the built environment. Think of it not just as choosing a finish, but as entering into an ancient conversation with the earth itself, selecting what it has given us and shaping it to our needs. Let's begin with the most elemental, the most grounded of these voices. Stone. Look around you, or perhaps, in your mind's eye, journey back through millennia. What was the first material that humans truly mastered for shelter and monument? Stone. It is the very bones of the earth, extracted from quarries, shaped by patient hands, and stacked with an understanding born of instinct and necessity. What does stone tell us? It speaks of immense strength in compression. It welcomes the downward push of gravity, embracing it, resisting it with an unyielding fortitude. This is why the pyramids of Giza stand as quiet sentinels against the vastness of time, why the massive walls of medieval castles endure, why the foundations of our own homes are so often rooted in its unshakable embrace. But stone, while a champion of compression, whispers of a profound vulnerability to tension. Try to pull a stone apart, or imagine a flat stone lintel spanning a wide opening without support. It will crack, it will fail. Its crystalline structure, so magnificent at resisting a squeeze, cannot withstand a pull or a bend. This inherent limitation has, throughout history, been the silent sculptor of form. It is why our ancestors learned to build in arches and vaults, those elegant curves that transform tensile stresses into compressive ones, allowing stone to sing its strongest song. It is why, before the advent of more advanced materials, stone buildings were characterized by thick, load-bearing walls, by narrow openings, and by a profound sense of grounded mass. Stone teaches us that strength can be ponderous, beautiful in its sheer permanence, but also demanding of a certain heavy grace. It is a material that connects us directly to the geology beneath our feet, a testament to the Earth's own ancient architecture. From the Earth's bedrock we turn our gaze to the forest, to the living, breathing architecture of Woodwiam. What a different story wood tells, where stone is rigid and monolithic, wood is fibrous, organic, imbued with the very essence of life. Its cellular structure, grown upward against gravity, grants it a remarkable duality. It performs admirably in a compression, supporting vertical loads with strength along its grain, but crucially, it also possesses significant tensile strength. Think of a tree branch, bending and swaying in the wind, resisting the pull of the storm without snapping. This inherent flexibility, this capacity to handle both pushing and pulling forces, opened up entirely new possibilities for early builders. Wood allowed for lighter structures, for larger spans than simple stone lintels, for the intricate dance of post and beam construction. It is the material of the cozy cabin, the elegant Japanese temple, the sturdy timber-framed barn. Its warmth, its workability, its renewable nature. These are the qualities that make wood such a beloved companion in our architectural journey. Yet, wood, too, has its vulnerabilities. It is susceptible to the capricious and invisible hand of fire, to the slow devour of rot, to the patient work of insects. It also has its limits in span and scale, particularly when compared to the engineered marvels we will soon discuss. Wood asks us to consider the balance between strength and vulnerability, between the organic and the enduring. It invites us to build with a lighter touch, a respect for its living origins, and a thoughtful understanding of its protective needs. Next, we encounter a material that, in many ways, bridges the gap between the raw monumentality of stone and the organic flexibility of wood. Brick. Brick, in its essence, is a small modular stone, crafted by human hands from clay and fired in kilns. What a brilliant innovation! It takes the compressive strength of stone and makes it manageable, repeatable, and versatile. Each brick, a small unit of compressed earth, acts as a tiny individual pillar, but when joined together with mortar, they create a formidable whole. This modularity is brick's silent genius. It allows for curves, for intricate patterns, for walls that can be built by a single person, layer by patient layer. Brick walls, like stone, excel in compression, bearing immense weight. They offer excellent thermal mass, slowly absorbing and releasing heat, contributing to the quiet comfort of our homes. They are also remarkably fire-resistant, standing as stoic guardians against the flames. However, like stone, individual bricks and unreinforced brickwork are weak in tension. A brick wall, without proper reinforcement or an arch to redirect forces, will struggle against lateral pushes or significant bending. The mortar joints, while holding the bricks together, are often the weakest link in resisting tensile or shear forces. Thus, brick architecture, throughout history, has often echoed the forms of stone. Thick walls, arches and vaults, but with an added layer of human artistry and precision. Think of the intricate brickwork of Roman aqueducts, the soaring cathedrals of northern Europe, or the charming row houses of so many cities. Brick speaks of human ingenuity, of patient labour, of a material that is both ancient and endlessly adaptable. It is a testament to the power of small repeated units combining to create structures of profound beauty and strength. Now, we approach a true revolution in materials, one that dramatically reshaped the possibilities of architecture. Concrete. Concrete, in its simplest form, is a mixture of cement, water, and aggregates like sand and gravel. What is its greatest magic? Its fluidity. When wet, it is a liquid stone, capable of being poured into any mould, taking on any shape we desire. This malleability, this capacity to be cast, is concrete's silent superpower. Once cured, it hardens into a material of incredible, compressive strength, rivaling and often surpassing that of natural stone. It is durable, fire-resistant, and relatively inexpensive, making it the silent workhorse of modern construction, from the very foundations we discussed in our last session to the massive bridges and dams that define our infrastructure. But here is where concrete truly transcends its predecessors. Early concrete, like stone and brick, suffered from poor tensile strength. It would crack and fail under pulling or bending forces. The breakthrough, the true game changer, came with the invention of reinforced concrete. By embedding steel bars, rebar, within the wet concrete, we combine the best of both worlds, concrete's incredible compressive strength and steel's exceptional tensile strength. The steel resists the pulling forces, while the concrete resists the pushing forces, and together they form a composite material of unparalleled versatility. Suddenly, architects were freed from the ancient constraints of material. We could create slender columns, vast open spans, cantilevered balconies that defied gravity, and thin, elegant shell structures. Reinforced concrete is the silent enabler of much of 20th and 21st century architecture, from the brutalist monuments that celebrate its raw power to the flowing, organic forms that exploit its castability. It speaks of a new kind of freedom, a material that allows us to sculpt space with a previously unimaginable fluidity. It is, in many ways, the ultimate example of human ingenuity augmenting natural materials, and this brings us to the material that truly allowed architecture to reach for the sky. Steel. Steel is an alloy of iron and carbon, a testament to human mastery over metallurgy. What are its defining characteristics? Unparalleled strength in both compression and tension. It is quite simply the strongest structural material we have at our disposal relative to its weight. Unlike stone or concrete, a slender steel beam can span vast distances, resisting both the downward push and the inherent bending forces with elegant efficiency. It is precise, predictable, and can be fabricated off-site to exacting specifications, then rapidly assembled on location. Steel is the skeleton of the modern city. Without it, the skyscraper, that vertical aspiration of human ambition, would simply not exist. It allows for incredibly tall, incredibly slender structures, for vast, column-free interior spaces, for the light, transparent curtain walls that define so much contemporary architecture. Think of the Empire State Building, the Eiffel Tower, or the soaring glass towers that pierce the clouds in our global metropolises. These are testaments to steel's silent strength. Yet steel too has its vulnerabilities. It is susceptible to corrosion if not properly protected, and critically, it loses a significant amount of its strength when exposed to intense heat, such as in a fire. This is why steel structures often require fireproofing measures, a silent conversation between strength and safety. Steel speaks of efficiency, of possibility, of a material that allows us to build higher, wider, and with an astonishing lightness. It is the material that truly allowed architecture to defy gravity with an almost effortless grace, transforming our urban landscapes forever. And finally, what of the material that allows us to see through our structures, connecting interior to exterior, light to shadow? I speak, of course, of glass. For centuries, glass was a precious commodity, used in small, leaded panes to filter light and keep out the elements. Its primary structural weakness, its incredible brittleness and poor insulation, limited its architectural role. But with advances in manufacturing, particularly the float glass process and the development of insulated glass units, IGUs, and tempered laminated glass, it has become an architectural material of immense power and beauty. Glass, while possessing virtually no structural strength in the traditional sense, it cannot bear significant compressive or tensile loads without shattering, offers transparency. It allows light to flood our spaces, connects us visually to the outside world, and can create facades of ethereal beauty and lightness. When combined with steel, it forms the modern curtain wall, a non-load-bearing skin that wraps a building in a shimmering, reflective embrace. It speaks of openness, of connection, of dissolving the traditional barrier between inside and out. It challenges our notions of solidity, inviting the outside in and allowing the building to reflect its surroundings like a silent, ever-changing mirror. So, as we reflect on these materials, stone, wood, brick, concrete, steel, and glass, we begin to understand that each one is not just a building block, but a storyteller. Each has its own narrative of strength and weakness, of ancient wisdom and modern innovation. The architect then becomes a thoughtful choreographer, not just of forces, but of these materials, understanding their inherent properties and allowing them to express themselves truthfully and beautifully. The choice of material is never arbitrary. It is a profound decision that dictates the form a building can take, the spaces it can enclose, the light it can capture, and the very feeling it evokes. A stone building feels grounded, enduring. A timber structure, warm and inviting. A steel and glass tower, light and aspirational. Each material carries with it a legacy, an aesthetic, and a set of structural imperatives that shape the silent language of architecture. We have traversed from the invisible forces that govern all structures to the tangible materials that give them form. We have seen how the properties of these materials, their ability to resist compression, tension, or shear, directly influence the shapes and scales of what we can build. This understanding is not just theoretical, it is alive in every wall around you, in every bridge you cross, in every building that stands, an ordinary miracle against the sky. Next, we will begin to explore how these materials, shaped by forces and human intent, come together to define and enclose the very spaces we inhabit. How do these structural elements create the volumes and voids that become our homes, our workplaces, our sacred places? We will delve into the silent poetry of space itself, and how it is crafted from the dialogue between structure and material. Until then, I invite you to look at the world around you with new eyes, to listen to the silent conversations of stone, wood, and steel, and to appreciate the profound wisdom embedded in their very existence. Thank you for your peaceful explorations, and I look forward to our next slow and thoughtful adventure. Friends, quiet pillars of this space, we have embarked together on a profound, slow, and thoughtful adventure. We've journeyed through the unseen forces that bind our built world, gravity's insistent hand, and the eloquent strengths of the materials that answer its call. We've witnessed how stone, wood, brick, concrete, steel, and glass each speak their own silent language, dictating the very forms a building can assume, the shapes it can hold, and the stories it can tell. But what are these forms ultimately for? What is the profound purpose of these carefully balanced structures, these ingenious arrangements of matter? As we delve into Chapter 3, Ra quote, 1. We shift our gaze from the tangible what to the intangible why. For architecture at its very heart is not merely about building things, it is about defining space. It is about shaping the voids, creating the emptiness that we inhabit, the air we breathe within its confines. It is a profound act of sculpting the invisible, carving out sanctuaries from the vast, undifferentiated expanse of the world. Consider, if you will, the air around you, the space between your skin and the nearest wall, the volume of this room, or the open sky beyond your window. This boundless, unformed space is the raw material, the canvas upon which the architect paints with solids. And the resulting painting, the true masterpiece, is not the wall itself, but the space that wall helps to define. We begin with the most fundamental act of enclosure, the creation of a boundary. The walls, defining boundaries, shaping experience. A wall, such a simple concept, yet so immensely powerful. We often perceive walls as mere barriers, as the skin of a structure, but they are so much more. They are the first whisper of definition, the initial gesture that transforms open expanse into something contained, something known. Think of the earliest human constructions, a ring of stones, a woven screen of branches. Their primary purpose was not to hold up a roof, but to articulate a boundary, to delineate and quote two from and quote three. They offered shelter, yes, but more importantly, they offered identity. This is ours. This is safe. This is here. As we explored in Chapter 2, the material of a wall profoundly influences its character. A thick, load-bearing stone wall, for instance, speaks of permanence, of solidity, of protection. Its very mass creates a sense of deep security, a quiet sentinel against the vastness of time and nature. Such walls often dictate a more cellular, compartmentalized interior with smaller, more intimate spaces, each carved out with deliberate effort. They might be cool in summer, warm in winter, their thermal mass a testament to their slow, steady nature. When you stand next to such a wall, you feel its presence, its history, its quiet strength. Contrast this with a modern wall of glass, a mere membrane of transparency. Here, the wall does not define a hard boundary so much as it mediates one. It allows light to flood in, views to expand, and the outside world to become an active participant in the interior experience. It speaks of openness, of connection, of a blurring between interior and exterior. Yet, even a glass wall, in its very transparency, defines. It separates the conditioned air within from the changing climate without. It frames the view, directing our gaze, curating the experience of the landscape. Walls, then, are not just structural elements, they are psychological instruments. They can create intimacy or grandeur, privacy or exposure, comfort or awe. They direct our movement, guide our eyes, and shape our very perception of the spaces we inhabit. They are the silent storytellers of our journey through a building. The roof, the overhead embrace. If walls define the horizontal boundaries, then the roof provides the overhead embrace, the ultimate act of shelter. It is the lid on our architectural box, protecting us from the capricious and invisible hand of the elements, the relentless sun, the cleansing rain, the insulating snow, the biting wind. But like walls, roofs are far more than mere functional coverings. Their form profoundly impacts the interior space they enclose and the exterior character they present. A flat roof, often seen in modern architecture, can create a sense of expansive openness within, allowing for maximum ceiling height and a clean, minimalist aesthetic. It also offers the possibility of outdoor living spaces above, connecting us to the sky. A pitched roof, common in many traditional styles, creates a different internal volume. It introduces slopes, perhaps leading to vaulted ceilings or cozy attics, shaping the way light falls and sound resonates. Its external form often reflects the climate it battles. Steep pitches shedding heavy snow, shallower ones allowing for greater overhangs to shade from sun. The choice of material for the roof, slate, tile, metal, thatch, also contributes to its character, its texture, its ability to reflect or absorb light, its very voice in the ancient conversation between building and environment. The ceiling, the underside of the roof, is critical to our experience of space. A low ceiling can create a sense of intimacy, warmth, and security, drawing us inward. A high ceiling, conversely, can evoke feelings of grandeur, spaciousness, and even liberation, lifting our spirits. Think of the humble cottage versus the soaring nave of a cathedral. The same fundamental element, the roof, yet manifesting in vastly different emotional and spiritual registers. The roof, therefore, is not just a shield, it is a canopy, a vault, a comforting hand held over us, shaping the very air we breathe within its protection. The floor, the foundation of our experience. Below us, the floor provides the stable ground plane, the stage upon which our lives unfold. It is the surface we connect with most directly, the silent anchor of our presence within a space. Beyond its obvious function of providing a walkable surface, the floor plays a crucial role in defining levels, guiding movement, and influencing the sensory experience of a room. A change in floor level, a single step up or down, can subtly delineate different zones within an open plan, suggesting a shift in function or atmosphere without the need for a physical wall. Stairs and ramps become choreographers of our vertical journey, each tread and rise a rhythm in the building's silent ballet of circulation. The material of the floor, too, speaks volumes. The cool, hard permanence of stone or concrete, the warm, yielding embrace of wood, the soft luxury of carpet, each evokes a different tactile and auditory experience. The reverberation of footsteps on a polished surface, the quiet hush of a textile floor, the subtle creak of aged timber, these are all part of the building's quiet symphony, contributing to the overall mood and character of the space. The floor, often overlooked, is the continuous ground of our architectural experience, a constant, steadfast presence. The interplay of structure and space, from mass to frame. Now, let us bring these elements together and observe how structure fundamentally shapes the spaces we enclose. Historically, and as we discussed in Chapter 1, early architecture relied heavily on load-bearing walls. These thick, massive walls were both the enclosure and the support system, channeling gravitational forces directly to the ground. This approach inherently limited the size and openness of interior spaces, creating a cellular arrangement where each room was largely defined by its own structural walls. Think of ancient castles or traditional masonry houses, robust, secure, but often with smaller, distinct rooms. The true revolution in spatial enclosure came with the development of skeletal frames. As materials like timber and later steel and reinforced concrete allowed for the creation of strong columns and beams, the walls were freed from their load-bearing duties. Suddenly, the structure became a frame, a quote wall that could stand independently, allowing the quote thrust of the building, the walls, to become much thinner, lighter, and even transparent. This shift gave birth to the quote 6, a concept that has profoundly redefined modern living and working. With the structural load carried by discrete columns, interior walls could be moved, removed, or made entirely of non-load-bearing materials like glass partitions or movable screens. This allowed for unprecedented flexibility, fluidity, and an expansive sense of space. Think of the vast column-free exhibition halls, the open-plan offices, or the flowing living areas of contemporary homes. Here, the structure is a subtle armature, a quiet framework that enables space rather than dictates its rigid boundaries. It's a testament to the silent ballet of forces, now elegantly choreographed to liberate the interior. Light, the sculptor of voids. As we enclose space, we also begin to control one of architecture's most profound and ethereal materials, light. Light is not merely illumination. It is a sculptor of voids, a revealer of texture, a modulator of mood, and a guide for our eyes and our bodies. Windows, once simple openings for ventilation and meagre light, have evolved into sophisticated instruments for shaping the spatial experience. They are the building's eyes, connecting us to the outside world, framing views, and allowing natural light to flood the interior. The size, placement, and orientation of a window can dramatically alter the feeling of a room. A small, high window might create a monastic, introspective atmosphere, while a floor-to-ceiling glass wall invites the landscape inward, blurring the lines between inside and out. The way light enters a space defines its character. Direct sunlight can create dramatic contrasts of light and shadow, highlighting forms and textures with stark clarity. Diffused light, perhaps from a north-facing window or a carefully designed skylight, can create a soft, even glow, fostering a sense of calm and serenity. The play of light throughout the day, as the sun traverses the sky, brings a dynamic, living quality to a room, constantly changing its mood and revealing new details. Artificial light, too, is a powerful tool, capable of creating intimacy, drama, or focused functionality, extending the life of a space beyond daylight hours. In essence, the architect doesn't just design the solid forms, they design the light that falls upon and within those forms. They are orchestrators of luminosity, painting with the sun and the shadows it casts, shaping our emotional response to the enclosed space. Movement and circulation, the choreography of experience. Finally, let us consider how these enclosed spaces are strung together, how they invite and guide our movement. Architecture is not a static art. It is an experience that unfolds over time and through space. The journey from one space to another, the approach to a building, the passage through a doorway, the ascent of a staircase, the progression from a public foyer to a private chamber, is a carefully choreographed sequence. Corridors, hallways, stairwells, and ramps are not just functional connectors. They are transitional spaces, pauses in the narrative, preparing us for what lies ahead. The width of a corridor, the height of a ceiling, the material underfoot, the light that filters in, all these elements contribute to the anticipation or reflection that defines our movement. Think of a grand processional axis in a monumental building, leading the eye and the body towards a focal point, instilling a sense of awe or reverence. Or consider a winding, narrow staircase in an old house, inviting a slower, more intimate ascent, hinting at stories whispered behind closed doors. Architecture, in its careful arrangement of spaces, creates a narrative of exploration, a silent invitation to move, to discover, to inhabit. The feeling of space, beyond function. Ultimately, the silent language of space and enclosure speaks to us on a deeply human level. It transcends mere function and touches upon emotion, memory, and aspiration. A well-designed space can foster community, inspire creativity, provide solace, or evoke a profound sense of wonder. It is in these carefully crafted voids that we live, work, learn, and dream. The scale of a space, its proportions, the rhythm of its openings, the textures of its surfaces, these are the intangible qualities that contribute to its, quote, 7. They are the quiet whispers that communicate comfort, grandeur, intimacy, or openness. The architect, in shaping these voids, is not just solving a problem. They are creating an experience, an atmosphere, a stage for the human condition. We have begun to peel back the layers of this ordinary miracle to understand how the definition of space is the very essence of architectural endeavour. We have seen how walls, roofs, and floors, supported by an evolving structural language, become the tangible means of shaping the intangible void. We have glimpsed how light animates these spaces and how movement brings them to life. As we conclude this chapter, let us carry with us the understanding that the most profound aspect of a building is often not its solid mass, but the carefully sculpted emptiness within. It is this emptiness, this defined space, that truly shelters us, inspires us, and becomes the backdrop for our lives. Next, on our quiet journey, we will explore how these enclosed spaces, these architectural canvases, begin to serve specific human needs, how they are organized to facilitate our functions, and how they interact with the broader context of their environment. We will move from the fundamental act of enclosure to the intricate dance of program and place. And so, we arrive at the threshold of Chapter 4, having journeyed through the silent ballet of forces, the ancient conversation of materials, and the profound artistry of space and enclosure. We've seen how architecture sculpts voids, how it frames experience, and how it modulates mood. But now we must ask, to what end? For whom do these walls rise, these roofs shelter, these floors ground us? What is the purpose behind this intricate dance of structure and form? Today, we turn our gaze to the heart of the matter, how these carefully crafted spaces serve the intricate tapestry of human needs, how they are thoughtfully organized, and perhaps most crucially, how they engage in a continuous living dialogue with their broader environment. This is where architecture truly reveals its profound empathy, its capacity to cradle our lives, to facilitate our dreams, and to stand as a quiet sentinel against the vastness of time. Consider, if you will, the very first impulse to build. Was it not driven by a fundamental need? The need for shelter from the elements, a secure place for rest, a hearth for warmth, a sanctuary for family. From these primal urges, architecture unfurls its purpose. Every building, every defined space is a response to a human program, a set of activities, aspirations, and necessities. We call this the quotidians of a building, the list of functions it must accommodate, the life it must enable. Imagine the humble home, the most universal of architectural expressions. Within its walls, spaces are designated for distinct needs: the quietude of sleep, the communal ritual of dining, the focused concentration of work, the cleansing act of bathing. Each room, though part of a greater whole, is a miniature world, designed to facilitate a specific human endeavour. The soft light and intimate scale of a bedroom invite repose. The robust surfaces and open flow of a kitchen encourage creation and gathering. The focused illumination and ordered shelves of a study foster contemplation. Architecture, in this sense, is an act of deep listening, understanding the subtle rhythms of our daily lives and providing the perfect stage for them to unfold. Extend this thought beyond the domestic. Think of the grand public square, an open embrace designed for communal gathering, for celebration, for protest, for the simple joy of shared presence. Its vastness, its central focus, its relationship to the surrounding buildings all speak to the need for community. Or consider the hushed reverence of a library, its soaring shelves and quiet reading nooks catering to the pursuit of knowledge, offering sanctuary for the wandering mind. Here, light is often controlled, acoustics are dampened, and the very air seems to encourage introspection. Then there are spaces of work and production, the bustling energy of an office, designed for collaboration and efficiency, or the robust, expansive volumes of a factory, tailored for specific industrial processes. We build for learning in the bright, adaptable classrooms of a school, for healing in the carefully controlled, sterile environments of a hospital, for spiritual solace in the uplifting grandeur of a cathedral or the serene simplicity of a meditation hall. Each of these architectural manifestations is a testament to our collective needs, a physical embodiment of our societal values, our aspirations, and our very way of being in the world. But merely identifying these needs is not enough. How do we arrange these disparate spaces into a coherent, functional, and aesthetically pleasing whole? This brings us to the fascinating realm of spatial organization. A building is rarely a monolithic block. It is a composition of spaces, each with its own character, yet all interconnected. The architect, much like a conductor, orchestrates these individual notes into a symphony. Consider the principle of hierarchy. Not all spaces are created equal in terms of their importance or their public nature. A grand entrance hall might lead to a central assembly area, while more private functions recede into quieter wings. Think of a palace, where the throne room is the undeniable focal point, with lesser chambers radiating outwards. This creates a sense of procession, guiding the user through a deliberate sequence of experiences, communicating significance through scale and placement. Then there is the power of the axis and symmetry. In classical architecture, this is often paramount. A long, clear axis draws the eye, creating a sense of order, grandeur, and inevitability. Buildings like the Pantheon or the Lincoln Memorial employ symmetry to evoke balance, timelessness, and monumental presence. Such arrangements can feel formal, even sacred, imbuing the space with a sense of dignity and purpose. Contrast this with the pragmatic efficiency of a rare. Grid organization. Imagine an office building where repetitive modules create a flexible framework for workspaces, or a city plan laid out in a logical grid of streets and blocks. This approach prioritizes clarity, adaptability, and often economic construction. It's a rational, often democratic way of organizing space, offering a sense of predictability and ease of navigation. Sometimes spaces are organized by clustering, grouping related functions together. A hospital might have a diagnostic cluster, a surgical cluster, and a patient ward cluster, each semi-autonomous yet connected. This allows for specialized environments while maintaining overall operational flow. Or imagine a university campus where academic departments are grouped into buildings, each a cluster of classrooms, labs, and offices, all unified by a network of pathways and green spaces. We also see radial organization. where spaces emanate from a central point, like spokes from a wheel. This creates a strong focal point, drawing attention inward, often used in places of assembly or worship, where a shared central experience is paramount. Think of a circular theatre or a church with an altar at its heart. And finally, linear organisation, where spaces are arranged sequentially along a path. A museum exhibition often follows a linear narrative, guiding visitors through a curated experience. A long corridor connecting a series of rooms is another simple example. This method emphasizes movement and discovery, unfolding the building's story step by step. Each of these organizational strategies dictates not just how a building looks, but how it feels to move through it, how clearly its functions are understood, and how efficiently it serves its inhabitants. The architect's task is to choose and combine these principles to create a spatial narrative that is both logical and inspiring. But a building, however perfectly programmed and organized, never exists in isolation. It is not a hermetically sealed object dropped from the sky. No, it is a participant in a grander dialogue, an intricate conversation with its broader environment. This is perhaps one of the most profound aspects of architectural design, the understanding that a building is deeply intertwined with its place. First, there is the immediate sight. The land itself speaks to us. Is it flat or sloped? Is there a prevailing wind? Where does the sun rise and set in relation to it? Are there magnificent views to capture or undesirable ones to screen? A thoughtful architect listens to these environmental whispers. We orient windows to maximize natural light and warmth in winter, or to minimize harsh sun in summer. We design overhangs and brise soleil, sunbreakers, to shade facades. We consider wind patterns, perhaps using the building itself to create sheltered courtyards or to channel cooling breezes. A building on a hill might terrace down the slope, integrating seamlessly with the topography, while one by the sea might be designed to withstand salt spray and strong gales. This is not just about aesthetics, it's about performance, comfort, and a fundamental respect for the genius loci, the spirit of the place. This leads us naturally to climate. Architecture is a profound response to the specific atmospheric conditions of a region. In hot, arid climates, we often find buildings with thick, insulating walls, small windows to minimize heat gain, and shaded courtyards that create microclimates of coolness. Think of the ancient mud brick homes of the Middle East. Conversely, in cold climates, buildings might feature robust insulation, compact forms to minimize exposed surface area, and large south-facing windows to capture precious winter sun. The pitched roof, so common in snowy regions, is a direct response to the need to shed heavy snowfall. Every material choice, every wall thickness, every window placement is a negotiation with the capricious and invisible hand of the weather. Beyond the natural environment, a building must also engage with its cultural and urban context. Is it nestled within a historic village, requiring a respectful echo of traditional forms and materials? Or is it a modern intervention in a bustling metropolis, seeking to assert a new identity while still contributing to the urban fabric? An architect considers the scale of surrounding buildings, the rhythm of the street, the local building traditions, and the community's aspirations. A building in a dense city will have a different relationship to public space than one in a sprawling rural landscape. It's about being a good neighbor, understanding that each new structure becomes a thread in the existing tapestry, either strengthening it or fraying it. And in our contemporary understanding, this dialogue with the environment extends to the critical imperative of sustainability and ecology. We now recognize that a building's interaction with its place is not just about adaptation, but about responsibility. How do we minimize its ecological footprint? This involves thoughtful material sourcing, choosing local, renewable, or recycled materials whenever possible. It means designing for energy efficiency, harnessing passive heating and cooling, integrating renewable energy sources like solar panels, and ensuring excellent insulation. It encompasses water management, from rainwater harvesting to grey water recycling. It even involves fostering biodiversity through green roofs that provide habitat or landscapes that integrate native flora. The goal is to create buildings that are not just on the earth, but of the earth, working in harmony with its delicate systems, striving for a symbiotic relationship rather than one of extraction and consumption. So you see, the journey of architectural design is one of continuous synthesis. It begins with the fundamental forces of gravity, moves through the expressive language of materials and the sculptural art of space, and then, in this crucial chapter, it blossoms into a profound response to human needs, a thoughtful organization of life's activities, and an empathetic, responsible engagement with the world around us. A building is not just a collection of walls and roofs. It is a living entity, breathing with its environment, serving its inhabitants, and speaking a silent language that tells us much about who we are and where we stand in the grand scheme of things. As we conclude this exploration, I invite you once more to look around you, to the walls that enclose you, the roof above, the ground beneath. Consider the intentions, the needs, the environmental dialogues that shaped their very existence. For in understanding these fundamentals, you begin to read the silent poetry of architecture in every structure, transforming the ordinary into an extraordinary testament to human ingenuity and connection. We have laid the groundwork, dear listeners, and in our next gathering, we shall begin to explore how these principles coalesce into the grand narratives of style, aesthetics, and enduring beauty. And so, our quiet journey continues, my friends, deeper into the very essence of what makes a structure more than mere shelter, more than a clever arrangement of forces and materials. We have together traced the silent ballet of gravity, witnessed the ancient conversation between stone and steel, felt the sculpting of space, and understood the profound dialogue between human need and the embrace of the earth. Now we arrive at a realm often misunderstood, sometimes dismissed as superficial, yet utterly vital to architecture's enduring power. The silent language of style, aesthetics, and that most elusive quality, enduring beauty. For too long, perhaps, style has been seen as a costume, a fleeting fashion draped over a building's bones. But I invite you to peel back that misconception with me, to understand that architectural style is not an arbitrary choice from a catalogue of appearances. No, it is a profound synthesis, a visible signature born from the very principles we have explored. It is the particular dialect a building speaks, shaped by the era's technologies, the available materials, the prevailing cultural values, and the architect's unique vision. Consider, if you will, the grand cathedrals of the Gothic age. Their soaring arches and ribbed vaults, their stained glass tapestries that dissolved the stone walls into shimmering light. These were not merely stylistic flourishes. They were the radical, almost miraculous expression of a newfound mastery over stone. The pointed arch and flying buttress, those elegant solutions to compression and tension, allowed walls to thin, to open, to reach unprecedented heights. The very style of Gothic architecture was a direct consequence of structural innovation, a material's potential pushed to its poetic limit, all in service of a spiritual aspiration to touch the heavens. The light, once constrained by thick Romanesque walls, now flooded the interior, transforming the very space into a divine presence, a transcendent experience. This, then, is a style born from technology, material, and a profound program of worship. Or turn your gaze to the stark, clean lines of early modernism. Here, the advent of steel frames and reinforced concrete liberated architects from load-bearing walls. Suddenly, buildings could be open, transparent, their forms dictated by function rather than structural necessity. The less is more mantra wasn't just an aesthetic preference. It was a philosophical statement, a rejection of historical ornament, a belief in the inherent beauty of honest materials and clear structure. The large glass curtain walls, made possible by steel skeletons, dissolved the boundary between interior and exterior, a direct response to a changing social desire for light, air, and connection to the urban fabric. This style, in its purity and efficiency, was a child of industrial revolution and a new social order, a silent declaration of a bold, forward-looking vision for humanity. Each style, whether it be the classical orders of ancient Greece, the robust forms of Romanesque, the intricate patterns of Islamic architecture, or the organic curves of Art Nouveau, tells us a story. It speaks of its time's understanding of the world, its mastery of materials, its cultural aspirations, and its relationship to the natural environment. A style, therefore, is not merely how a building looks, but how it thinks, how it responds, how it lives. It is the coherent expression of all the silent languages we have learnt so far, woven into a distinct and recognizable voice. Now, from the observable patterns of style, we venture into the more ethereal realm of aesthetics, the study of beauty, of what moves us, what delights the eye and calms the soul. This is where architecture truly begins to transcend its functional imperative and aspire to art. What makes a building beautiful? It is a question as old as humanity itself, and one that often elicits a shrug, a ma'am, quote 10. And while there is truth to that, I contend that within architecture there are universal principles, quiet harmonies that resonate across cultures and time, contributing to a sense of order, delight, and profound connection. Consider proportion, for instance, the relationships between parts and the whole. Just as a perfectly balanced chord in music creates harmony, so too do harmonious proportions in architecture create a sense of rightness, of visual equilibrium. The ancient Greeks, with their temples, meticulously studied these ratios, believing them to reflect cosmic order. The golden ratio, that mysterious mathematical constant found in nature and art, has been employed for millennia to create compositions that feel inherently pleasing. When the height of a window relates gracefully to its width, When the rhythm of columns across a facade feels just so, it is not by accident. It is the architect, the silent choreographer, arranging elements in a way that speaks to our innate human desire for order and balance. Then there is light, that most ephemeral of materials. We spoke of it sculpting space, but it also sculpts beauty. How a building captures, filters, and directs light can transform a mundane room into a sacred chamber, a simple hallway into a path of revelation. Think of the Pantheon in Rome, its single oculus allowing a powerful shifting disk of sunlight to traverse the dome, a celestial clock marking time within its vast circular space, or the intricate brise-soleil of Le Corbusier, which carves sunlight into patterns of shadow, cooling interiors while creating a dynamic, ever-changing facade. Light reveals texture, defines form, and evokes mood. It is the breath of a building, constantly shifting, constantly animating. Texture and materiality too play their part. The smooth coolness of polished marble, the rugged warmth of exposed brick, the subtle grain of wood, the reflective sheen of glass, each material possesses an inherent aesthetic quality. When an architect chooses materials honestly, allowing their natural properties to sing rather than disguising them, a deep beauty emerges. We feel the weight, the history, the craft. The way light glances off a rough stone wall is fundamentally different from how it dances across a polished steel surface. This sensory richness, this tactile dimension, engages us on a primal level, connecting us to the earth from which these materials came. And what of detailing and craftsmanship? The care with which a joint is made, the precision of a carved ornament, the seamless transition between different materials, these are not mere trifles. They are testaments to human ingenuity and dedication, a silent whisper of the hands that shaped the building. They speak of respect for the material, for the structure, and most importantly, for the people who will inhabit and experience the space. A building where every detail is considered, where the craft is evident, possesses a quiet dignity, an integrity that contributes profoundly to its perceived beauty. It feels loved. Now, we move beyond fleeting aesthetics, beyond the ebb and flow of style, to consider something more profound, enduring beauty. What allows a building to transcend its moment, to speak across centuries, to touch generations with its power and grace? It is not simply being, quote 11, or even, quote 12. Enduring beauty is a quality born from a deeper resonance, a profound connection to universal human experience, and a masterful orchestration of all the silent languages we have explored. A building achieves enduring beauty when it speaks truth. Truth to its materials, expressing their inherent strengths and limitations without pretense. Truth to its structure, revealing how it stands, how it defies gravity, in an honest and elegant manner. When a building clearly communicates its engineering prowess, when its form is a direct and legible outcome of its construction, it possesses an integrity that time cannot diminish. Think of the Parthenon again, its post and lintel system clearly articulated, its columns bearing the weight of the pediment with an almost effortless grace. Or the humble dry stone wall, each rock carefully chosen and placed, its stability a testament to an ancient unadorned wisdom. Enduring beauty also stems from a profound responsiveness to its place. When a building feels as though it has grown organically from its site, when it harmonizes with the landscape, acknowledges the climate and respects its cultural context, it becomes an inseparable part of its environment. It doesn't just exist there, it belongs. This deep connection to place imbues it with a sense of authenticity, a rootedness that defies the passage of time. Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water, for instance, is not merely on a waterfall, it is the waterfall, an extension of the rock and water, an integral part of its natural symphony. Furthermore, buildings of enduring beauty often possess a clarity of purpose, a quiet eloquence in how they serve human need. Even if their original function changes over time, their underlying spatial organization, their rhythm, their sense of scale, continues to resonate. They are designed not just for a specific activity, but for the human spirit. They offer spaces that uplift, that inspire contemplation, that foster community, or that provide solace. They understand the human body and space, respecting our scale, our movement, our need for both grandeur and intimacy. And finally, enduring beauty often lies in a building's capacity for narrative and symbolism. It tells a story, evokes shared meanings, or represents ideals that transcend its physical form. A great cathedral speaks of faith and aspiration. A civic building might embody justice or democracy. A humble home might symbolize family and security. These buildings become quiet sentinels against the vastness of time, repositories of collective memory, speaking a silent language that continues to inform and inspire. They are not just objects. They are vessels of culture, history, and human endeavor. So, as we conclude this chapter, and indeed our initial explorations into the fundamentals of architecture, I hope you see that style, aesthetics, and enduring beauty are not separate decorative layers applied at the end of the design process. Rather, they are the profound culmination of all the principles we have discussed. They are the silent poetry that emerges when gravity is understood, materials are honored, space is sculpted with intention, human needs are met with grace, and the environment is embraced with respect. Architecture, at its highest expression, is an ordinary miracle. It is the act of taking the raw elements of our world, shaping them with intellect and emotion, and creating something that not only stands against the forces of nature, but also speaks to the deepest parts of our humanity. It is a continuous silent conversation that has unfolded across millennia, and one that, I trust, you can now hear with new ears, see with new eyes, and appreciate with a newfound depth. Look around you, my friends, at every wall, every roof, every window. They are all speaking, and now you understand their silent, beautiful language. We have journeyed together, haven't we, through the very sinews and spirit of architecture. We have seen how gravity sculpts, how materials speak their unique truths, how space defines our very existence, and how buildings, through their thoughtful design, can achieve an enduring beauty, and a quote 13 that resonates deep within us. But now, as we stand before these silent testaments, these profound expressions of human ingenuity, a new question gently rises, like the morning mist over a tranquil lake. How do these miracles come to be? Who orchestrates this silent poetry? Who translates the whisper of an idea into the solid, breathing reality of a built form? It is here, in this quiet contemplation, that we turn our gaze towards the architect, not merely as a technician or a drafter, but as a visionary, a synthesizer, a conductor of an immensely complex symphony. The architect is the one who steps into the void of a need, a dream, a challenge, and begins to weave together all the threads we have discussed: the forces, the materials, the spaces, the context, the aesthetic aspirations, into a coherent, purposeful, and often breathtaking whole. They are the ones who engage in an ancient conversation, not just with the site or the client, but with the very essence of human experience itself. Imagine, if you will, the beginning. There is no building, only a desire. Perhaps a family needs a home, a community requires a gathering place, or an institution seeks a space for learning and discovery. This initial desire, this program, is the first note in the symphony. It arrives with its own set of constraints and aspirations, a delicate balance of the pragmatic and the poetic. The site, too, speaks its own language. The slope of the land, the direction of the sun, the prevailing winds, the character of the surrounding landscape or cityscape, the very geology beneath our feet. These are not obstacles, but rather collaborators, offering clues, presenting opportunities, shaping the nascent dream. The architect then begins a process that is less a linear march and more a fluid, iterative dance. It starts often with the most ephemeral of gestures, a sketch, a diagram, a few lines on a page. This is the realm of conceptual design, where ideas are born in their purest, most abstract form. It is a time for asking fundamental questions. What is the essence of this place? What experience do we wish to evoke? How can we honor the land, embrace the light, shelter from the storm, and uplift the spirit? It is a period of intense listening to the client's needs, to the site's whispers, to the silent language of gravity and material, and, perhaps most importantly, to the inner voice of intuition. Think of it as a sculptor approaching a block of marble. They don't immediately begin chiseling details. First, they envision the form hidden within, understanding its mass, its potential, its inherent limitations. Similarly, the architect begins to abstract, to simplify, to seek the quote 14D that will anchor the entire project. This might manifest as a simple gesture: a protective roof, a soaring vertical element, a series of courtyards, a fluid connection between inside and out. These initial concepts are like seeds, holding the genetic code of the future building, yet still pliable, capable of evolving. This stage is characterized by relentless exploration. We draw, we redraw. We build quick, rough models, folding paper, shaping clay, testing volumes and voids. We imagine the path of the sun, the flow of people, the play of shadows. We engage in a silent conversation with the drawing board, posing questions and seeking answers through form. What if the entrance were here? How would the light fall in this room? Can this material express the desired feeling? Each line, each model is a hypothesis, tested against the forces of gravity, the properties of materials, the demands of the program, and the aspirations for beauty. It is a dance between the rational and the intuitive, the analytical and the artistic. As these conceptual gestures begin to solidify, the design embarks on its journey from the abstract to the concrete. This is where the initial sketches evolve into more precise drawings, floor plans that map out circulation and spatial relationships, sections that reveal the vertical drama and structural intent, elevations that describe the building's face to the world. Here, the architect delves deeper into the specifics, considering the exact nature of the materials, the warmth of wood, the coolness of stone, the transparency of glass, the solidity of concrete. They begin to define the structural system, collaborating closely with engineers who bring their expertise in the silent ballet of forces? Will it be a heavy masonry structure, relying on compressive strength, or a light steel frame, exploiting tensile capabilities? How will the building stand firm against the wind, the tremor, the passage of time? This phase is also where the architect becomes a master problem solver, navigating a complex web of constraints. Budgetary realities often demand ingenuity, pushing for elegant solutions that achieve maximum impact with minimal resources. Regulatory codes, the quiet guardians of safety and public welfare, must be understood and integrated. The very practicalities of construction, the methods and sequences of building, influence design decisions. It is a delicate balance, this dance between the ideal vision and the tangible realities of construction, a constant negotiation between what can be and what must be. Yet, it is within these constraints that true creativity often flourishes, leading to innovative solutions that might never have emerged from a blank slate. Indeed, architecture is rarely a solo endeavor. While the architect leads the vision, they are surrounded by a symphony of collaborators, structural engineers who ensure the building's stability, mechanical engineers who design its circulatory systems for comfort, landscape architects who weave the building into its natural surroundings, and, crucially, the skilled craftspeople and builders who translate lines on paper into tangible reality. The architect acts as the conductor, ensuring that each instrument plays in harmony, contributing to the overall composition, maintaining the integrity of the initial vision through countless decisions and adjustments. Ultimately, the design process is about crafting a narrative. A building, once conceived and constructed, tells a story. The story of its purpose, its place, its makers, and its inhabitants. The architect, in this sense, is a storyteller, carefully choosing each word, each phrase, each pause, to create a compelling and meaningful experience. They shape the journey from approach to entry, from public space to private sanctuary. They choreograph the dance of light and shadow, the texture of surfaces, the acoustics of a room. Every decision, from the grandest gesture to the smallest detail, contributes to this unfolding narrative, aiming to enrich human life and elevate the everyday. And so, we see that the creation of a building is a profound act of synthesis, a bringing together of art and science, dream and discipline, vision and reality. It is a testament to human aspiration, a quiet declaration of our desire to shape our environment, to find shelter, to create beauty, and to leave our mark upon the world. The architect's journey, from that first whisper of an idea to the final inhabited structure, is a microcosm of our own journey through these lectures, a deliberate, thoughtful adventure into understanding the fundamental principles that allow us to build, to dream, and to experience the silent poetry of architecture. It is a reminder that every wall around you, every roof above, every space you inhabit, began as an idea, nurtured and brought to life through this intricate, demanding, and ultimately deeply rewarding process. As you look around now, can you begin to perceive the traces of that initial spark, that conceptual gesture, that enduring conversation between mind and material that shape the very space you occupy? We have journeyed together through the foundational principles, haven't we? From the earth's silent embrace to the architect's intricate dream, we've witnessed the quiet ballet of forces, the ancient conversation of materials, and the careful sculpting of space. We've seen how purpose finds its form, how vision is translated into structure, how the ephemeral idea becomes the tangible reality. We've explored the profound intent behind every beam, every wall, every window, understanding that architecture is far more than mere shelter. It is a profound declaration, a meticulously crafted poem in 3 dimensions. But now, as we turn this page, I invite you to consider what happens after. The blueprints are folded, after the last nail is driven, after the dust settles and the ribbon is cut. What happens when the architect's vision is complete and the building stands ready to receive its inhabitants? This is where the silent language we've studied truly comes alive, where the grand design meets the everyday reality, where the structure begins its most profound and ongoing dialogue, with us, with time, and with the very essence of human experience. A building, once complete, is not a static monument, but a living entity embarking on its own unique journey. It enters into a profound ongoing dialogue with the sky above, the earth beneath, and most importantly with us, its inhabitants. It breathes with the seasons, whispers with the wind, and settles into its own unique rhythm. It is no longer just a collection of materials and forces. It becomes a stage for human life, a repository of memories, a quiet participant in our unfolding stories. Consider, if you will, the simple yet profound act of walking into a room. Think of the light that washes over you, the way it shifts and changes with the hours, painting the walls with transient hues. Is it a grand, sun-drenched hall that lifts your spirit, or a hushed, intimate space that invites contemplation? This, as we now understand, is not accidental. This is the culmination of every decision we've explored. The orientation of the building, the precise placement and size of a window, the chosen materials that absorb or reflect light, the very proportions of the space that either embrace or expand your sense of self. The architect, in their wisdom, orchestrated this experience, choreographing your journey through light and shadow, intentionally shaping the mood of a moment, the rhythm of a day. Architecture, in its deepest sense, is the stage upon which the human drama unfolds. It is the quiet witness to our joys and sorrows, our daily routines and our profound moments. Every wall, every door, every window is a silent participant in the symphony of human life. It frames our views, shapes our movements, and subtly influences our moods. The gentle curve of a stairwell, inviting you upwards. The reassuring weight of a solid oak door, offering a sense of security. The smooth coolness of a polished stone floor beneath your feet, connecting you to the earth's enduring strength. These are not merely functional elements. They are sensory invitations designed to engage us, to make us feel. They speak to our primal need for shelter, yes, but also to our yearning for beauty, for order, for meaning. Think of the threshold, that liminal space between outside and in. It is not merely a line on a plan, but a psychological marker, a moment of transition. The weight of a solid door, the gentle resistance of its swing, the sound it makes as it closes. These sensory cues prepare us for the space within. And once inside, how does the ceiling height affect your sense of self? A soaring vault can inspire awe, a low ceiling, intimacy. The texture of a wall, whether rough stone or smooth plaster, invites a different kind of touch, a different visual narrative. Even the scent of a building, subtle and often unnoticed, can evoke profound memories. the scent of old wood, of fresh plaster, of blooming jasmine from a courtyard beyond. These are the quiet architects of our inner landscape, working tirelessly to shape our experience of the world. And as the years turn, a building begins to gather stories. The patina on an old wooden beam, darkened by time and touch. The worn threshold of a doorway, hollowed by countless footsteps. The subtle marks left by generations of hands and feet. These are not imperfections. They are inscriptions, a quiet testament to the lives lived within. A building becomes a repository of memory, a physical archive of human experience. Think of an ancient cathedral, its stones echoing with centuries of prayers, its stained glass windows having filtered countless dawns and dusks, each moment adding to its silent narrative. Or consider a humble family home, each scratch on the floor a forgotten childhood game, each faded wallpaper pattern a ghost of a past aesthetic. These structures are more than just shelter. They are containers of collective consciousness, silent witnesses to the ebb and flow of generations. Every scratch on a wooden floor, every faded patch on a sun-drenched wall, every worn indentation on a stone step. These are not flaws, but rather the quiet calligraphy of time, inscribed by countless lives. Imagine the generations who have traversed that very threshold, each leaving an invisible trace of their hopes, their laughter, their quiet sorrows. A building, then, becomes a living palimpsest, its surfaces overwritten with layers of human narrative. The Grand Opera House, its velvet seats still humming with the echoes of applause, the bustling market hall, its ancient timbers seasoned by the aroma of spices and the cacophony of commerce, the solitary lighthouse, standing vigil against the tempest, a silent promise of safe passage. Each structure, from the monumental to the mundane, is a testament to the human journey, a quiet sentinel against the vastness of time, holding within its very bones the untold stories of those who built it and those who dwelled within its embrace. But this dialogue is not always static. Just as human needs evolve, so too can the life of a building. We have seen structures, once designed for one purpose, gracefully adapt to another. A factory transformed into an art gallery, its vast industrial spaces now framing masterpieces, a church becoming a community centre, its sacred silence reinterpreted for new forms of gathering, a grand estate subdivided into apartments, finding new life and new families within its historic walls. This adaptability speaks to a profound resilience inherent in good design, a foresight perhaps, or simply a robust simplicity that allows for reinvention. It reminds us that architecture, while rooted in its initial vision, is also capable of embracing change, of finding new meaning and new utility across the vast expanse of time. It is a testament to the enduring human spirit, which constantly seeks to renew, to repurpose, to find beauty and function in what already exists. The most enduring buildings are often those that can gracefully accept a new chapter in their story, allowing their silent language to be reinterpreted by a new generation. As we stand at the precipice of new challenges, climate change, rapid urbanization, evolving technologies, and the ever-present human need for connection, the fundamental principles we have explored become even more vital. How do we design structures that not only shelter us, but also heal our planet, that minimize their footprint and maximize their contribution to a sustainable future? How do we create spaces that foster genuine human connection, in an increasingly digital world that invite contemplation and quietude amidst the ceaseless noise. The answers, I believe, lie not in abandoning these ancient conversations, but in listening to them with renewed attentiveness, interpreting them through a contemporary lens, and innovating with wisdom born of timeless principles. The future of architecture is not about discarding the lessons of gravity, compression, and tension, or ignoring the inherent truths of stone, wood, and steel. It is about understanding these fundamentals so deeply that we can push their boundaries responsibly, creatively, and ethically. It is about designing with a profound respect for place, a clear understanding of human program, and an unwavering commitment to enduring beauty. It is about creating buildings that are not just objects, but active participants in the ongoing human story, structures that will gather new memories, inspire new dreams, and stand as testaments to our ingenuity for generations to come. So, as we bring this particular chapter to a close, and perhaps this phase of our quiet journey, I invite you to carry this newfound perspective with you. Look at the structures around you, the quiet pillars of your own space, the buildings you pass every day, not just as static objects, but as living entities engaged in an ongoing silent conversation. See the forces at play, the stories etched into their surfaces, the dreams and intentions woven into their very fabric. Feel the space, observe the light, appreciate the texture. For in understanding these fundamentals, you are not merely observing architecture, you are participating in its living legacy, becoming a more conscious inhabitant of the built world and a more appreciative witness to its enduring human story. You are now equipped to see the silent poetry, to hear the ancient conversation, and to truly understand the profound miracle of every building that stands, a testament to humanity's enduring dialogue with the earth and the sky. And so, we arrive at a new dawn, a threshold where the whispers of the past meet the urgent call of tomorrow. We have journeyed together through the silent poetry of structure, traced the ancient conversations held between material and force, and witnessed the living breath of buildings as they gather stories and adapt to the ebb and flow of human life. Now, as our quiet journey through these fundamentals deepens, we turn our gaze toward the horizon, asking, what does the future hold for the built world, and how do these timeless principles guide our way forward? If Chapter 7 saw the building as a living entity, constantly in dialogue with its inhabitants and the passage of time, then Chapter 8 invites us to consider its enduring conversation with the very planet it stands upon, and with the generations yet to come. The world outside your window is not static. It is a dynamic tapestry woven with evolving needs, technological leaps, and pressing environmental imperatives. Our planet faces profound challenges, a changing climate, the depletion of finite resources, the rapid growth of urban centers, and the imperative to create spaces that are not only functional and beautiful, but also profoundly sustainable and resilient. These are not mere trends, they are the new gravity, the new compression, the new tension that architects and builders must now contend with. The quote 15 that we first explored now includes the formidable weight of ecological responsibility and the delicate balance of planetary health. How do we, as architects and stewards of the built environment, choreograph this increasingly complex dance? The answer, perhaps surprisingly, lies not in abandoning our fundamentals but in deepening our understanding of them. Sustainability, once seen as an optional add-on, is now understood as an intrinsic, non-negotiable principle, a return to an ancient wisdom that has always respected the earth. Think back to the humble vernacular architectures we briefly touched upon. The thick stone walls of a Tuscan farmhouse, naturally cool in summer and warm in winter, the cleverly vented roofs of traditional desert dwellings, the ingenious use of local timber and earth by indigenous communities. These were not merely, quote 16, they were expressions of a profound, intuitive understanding of place, climate, and resource availability. They built with what was at hand, in harmony with the natural rhythms, and their buildings stood as quiet sentinels against the vastness of time, requiring minimal external energy inputs. Today, this ancient conversation has become a sophisticated science. We speak of embodied energy, the energy consumed in the production and transport of materials, and operational energy, which powers the building throughout its life. We delve into passive design strategies, harnessing natural light and ventilation, optimizing building orientation, and selecting materials that perform efficiently without excessive mechanical intervention. We consider water harvesting, waste reduction, and the creation of healthy indoor environments that promote human well-being. This is not simply about adding solar panels or green roofs, though these are vital components. It is about a holistic, ethical approach to design that recognizes our buildings are not isolated objects but integral parts of a larger ecosystem. We are asked to design not just for the comfort of the present occupant, but for the health of the entire planetary community, for the ceci or quoti 17 of future generations who will inherit our designs. Yet, even as we look to ancient wisdom, we are simultaneously propelled forward by the relentless currents of innovation and technology. The architect's palette of tools and materials is expanding at an unprecedented rate. We now have bio-based materials that can grow themselves, smart materials that adapt to changing conditions, and advanced composites that push the boundaries of strength and lightness. Digital fabrication techniques like 3D printing allow for complex geometries and material efficiencies previously unimaginable. Building information modeling, BIM, and generative design software empower us to analyze, optimize, and visualize designs with incredible precision, anticipating performance long before a single brick is laid. But let us be clear, these sophisticated tools and novel materials are not the end goal. They are merely extensions of our fundamental principles. Gravity still pulls, compression still resists, tension still stretches. These technologies simply offer us new ways to manage these forces, to sculpt space, to define program, and to engage with place. They allow us to build lighter, stronger, smarter, and with greater efficiency. But the core challenge remains to create meaningful, enduring human habitats that respond to human needs and respect the natural world. The silent ballet of forces now includes algorithms and data streams. Yes, but the choreographer's ultimate vision must always be rooted in the human experience and the planet's health. Consider the concept of resilience, the ability of a building, or indeed an entire community, to withstand and recover from adverse events, whether they be extreme weather, economic shifts, or social changes. Our buildings, these quiet sentinels, must be designed to weather storms, both literal and metaphorical. This calls for adaptability, spaces that can morph and change functions over time, structures that can be easily deconstructed and repurposed, and systems that are robust enough to cope with unforeseen stresses. Flexible floor plans, modular components, and designs that anticipate future evolution are becoming hallmarks of responsible architecture. The building, in its ongoing dialogue, must be capable of adapting its conversation to new topics, new challenges, and new inhabitants, ensuring its relevance and utility for decades, even centuries to come. Amidst all this technological advancement and ecological imperative, it is crucial to remember that the heart of architecture remains profoundly human. Even as we design for energy efficiency and structural resilience, our ultimate purpose is to create environments that nurture the human spirit, foster community, and enhance daily life. How do our spaces impact our mood, our productivity, our sense of belonging? How do they promote health, accessibility, and equity for all? The psychological impact of light, the tactile pleasure of materials, the sense of orientation and clarity within a space. These are the subtle, yet powerful ingredients of a well-designed environment. The ordinary miracle of architecture is not just in standing tall against gravity, but in creating places where human connection flourishes, where memories are forged, and where lives are lived with dignity and joy. The architect's role, therefore, continues to evolve. No longer merely a master builder or an artist, the architect of tomorrow is a synthesist of immense complexity, an orchestrator of intricate systems, an advocate for the planet, a visionary for human potential, and a bridge between dreams and reality. This expanded role carries a deeper ethical responsibility, demanding not just technical prowess, but also profound empathy and foresight. We are still the Cestus, quote 21, but our stage is now global, and our score is infinitely more complex, demanding a harmony between human aspiration and ecological imperative. And so, as we reflect on this quiet journey through the fundamentals of architecture, we come full circle. We began with the elemental force of gravity, and we conclude with the equally powerful, though often unseen, force of responsibility. The responsibility to design with intention, with wisdom, and with a profound respect for both humanity and the natural world. The principles we have explored, gravity, compression, tension, shear, the language of materials, the sculpting of space, the dialogue between program and place, the pursuit of beauty and meaning, the architect's iterative process, and the building as a living entity. These are not static rules. They are timeless currents, flowing through every innovation, every challenge, every new vision. Architecture, in its essence, is a continuous conversation across generations, a lasting legacy etched in stone, wood, and steel. The buildings we create today will stand as silent witnesses to our values, our ingenuity, and our understanding of our place in the world. They will continue to speak their silent language long after we are gone, telling stories of who we were and what we cared about. The Dreamy Academy lecture series may draw to a close, but your journey, our journey, into the profound appreciation of the built world has only just begun. Look around you, outside your window, at every wall that defines your space. See the silent ballet of forces, the ancient conversation of materials, the thoughtful sculpting of void, the quiet sentinel standing against time. May you carry this newfound understanding with you, seeing not just structures, but stories, not just buildings, but living, breathing testaments to human aspiration and ingenuity. May you become a participant in this ongoing narrative, a quiet pillar in the ever-evolving story of architecture, ready to embrace its challenges and celebrate its enduring wonder. Thank you. We have journeyed far, haven't we, quiet pillars of this space? From the silent foundational tug of gravity to the soaring visions of a sustainable future, our exploration has woven through the very fabric of the built world. We've traced the ancient conversations between earth and stone, witnessed the liberating dance of steel and glass, and pondered the profound ethical responsibilities that weigh upon every line drawn, every material chosen. Now, as our quiet journey nears its culmination, we arrive at a crucial moment, the grand synthesis. What, then, is this vast, intricate tapestry we call architecture, when all its threads, visible and invisible, are brought together? It is, we believe, more than the sum of its formidable parts. It is a holistic system, an intricate symphony where every note, every instrument, plays a vital role in the overall composition. Imagine, if you will, an orchestra where gravity is the silent conductor, dictating the rhythm and tempo of all other forces. The materials are the diverse instruments, each with its unique timbre, the deep bass of stone, the warm woodwinds, the sharp brass of steel, the ethereal strings of glass. Form and structure become the intricate score, precisely notated to guide the performance, ensuring stability and coherence. But this symphony plays not just for its own sake. It is composed for humanity, the space it sculpts, the light it embraces, the atmosphere it cultivates. These are the melodies that resonate within our very beings. We have discussed how buildings define and organize our lives, how they respond to climate and culture, how they strive for enduring beauty. But let us now delve deeper into the profound impact this orchestrated environment has on the human spirit, on our collective well-being, and on the silent narratives we live out within these constructed worlds. Architecture, at its most profound, is the physical embodiment of our values, our aspirations, and our deepest understanding of ourselves and our place in the cosmos. Think of the soaring cathedrals of old. They were not merely shelters from the elements, nor just places for worship. They were monumental declarations of faith, expressions of community, and testaments to human ingenuity reaching for the divine. Every arch, every stained glass window, every carved detail spoke a language of reverence, hope, and collective endeavour. They transformed simple stone into a spiritual experience, elevating the mundane into the sublime. And what of our modern structures? Do they too speak of our values? When we design with sustainability at its core, embracing renewable energies and minimizing our footprint, we are building a statement about our commitment to the planet, to future generations. When we craft public spaces that are open, accessible, and inviting, we are declaring our belief in community, in shared experience, in the democratic ideal. When we create homes that are not just efficient but also nurturing, filled with natural light and connected to nature, we are affirming the importance of human well-being, peace, and domestic harmony. The Quote 24 of architecture then lies in its capacity to translate abstract ideals into tangible reality. It takes the invisible currents of human need, cultural identity, and environmental imperative and gives them form, weight, and presence. It is a dialogue not just between architect and client, or building and site, but between humanity and its own evolving consciousness. Consider, for a moment, how architecture shapes our daily experience, often without our conscious awareness. The gentle curve of a pathway can invite contemplation, while a sharp, direct corridor might suggest efficiency. The height of a ceiling can evoke grandeur or intimacy. The texture of a wall, whether smooth concrete or rough-hewn timber, can elicit feelings of coolness or warmth, modernity or tradition. These are not arbitrary choices. They are deliberate acts of design, intended to guide our emotions, our interactions, and our perceptions of the world around us. A thoughtfully designed hospital, for instance, goes beyond mere functional efficiency. It can incorporate healing gardens, natural light, and calming colours to reduce stress and promote recovery. A school can be more than a collection of classrooms. It can be a vibrant, flexible learning environment that fosters creativity, collaboration, and a love for discovery. A city square can be transformed from a simple intersection into the beating heart of a community, a place for celebration, protest, and everyday encounters. In each instance, architecture is not just accommodating life, it is actively enhancing it, enriching it, and giving it deeper meaning. This brings us back to the architect, the choreographer of forces and dreams, but now with an added dimension. The architect as a steward not just of resources and budgets, but of culture, of human experience, and of the very spirit of a place. The responsibility is immense, for every building we create will stand as a testament to our time, shaping the lives of those who inhabit it, and leaving an indelible mark on the landscape for decades, even centuries to come. To be an architect, then, is to possess a profound empathy, to understand the silent needs of a community, the subtle nuances of a site, and the timeless aspirations of the human heart. It is to blend the rigorous logic of engineering with the intuitive grace of art, to harmonize the demands of function with the pursuit of beauty. It is to see beyond the immediate brief and envision the long-term legacy, to build not just for today, but for a future we can only begin to imagine. The built world is never truly finished. It is in a constant state of becoming, of adapting, of conversing. Buildings age, they accumulate stories, they witness generations come and go. They are painted, repaired, renovated, sometimes even repurposed or respectfully dismantled. This ongoing dialogue between the structure and its inhabitants, between the original design intent and the evolving needs of time, is part of its living essence. A truly great building possesses an inherent adaptability, a generosity of spirit that allows it to embrace change without losing its fundamental character. It becomes a quiet sentinel against the vastness of time, a constant presence that gathers memories and reflects the ongoing ebb and flow of human endeavour. So, as we conclude this particular journey, let us carry forward a renewed appreciation for the silent poetry of architecture. Look around you at the walls that define your space, the ceiling above, the window that frames the world outside. Each element is a deliberate choice, a culmination of ancient wisdom and modern innovation, a testament to humanity's ceaseless drive to create, to shelter, to inspire. The future of architecture, as we've discussed, is intertwined with our planet's future, demanding resilience, sustainability, and technological ingenuity. But let us never forget that at its heart, architecture remains a profoundly human art. It is about crafting environments that foster life, that nurture the spirit, that tell our stories, and that connect us more deeply to each other and to the earth beneath our feet. The architect's ultimate role, then, is to continue this ancient conversation, to synthesize the complex demands of our age with timeless principles, and to ensure that every structure we raise contributes not just to the physical landscape, but to the flourishing of the human spirit. It is an invitation to perceive the world with new eyes, to understand that every building is an ordinary miracle, a profound statement, and a living entity participating in the grand, unfolding narrative of human civilization. Let us build wisely, let us build beautifully, and let us build with unwavering purpose.